Welcome everyone, I'm Mati the Hero, and today we will talk about the Japan-exclusive crowdfighter spin-off game Sengoku BASARA Sanada Yukimura-Den. Being that the only Japanese I understand are watashi wa and bakane, aside from maybe a few sprinkled words here and there like nani, I won't be doing a translated guide. But you know, I'll try my best I suppose. So, the game was developed and published by Capcom and was released on the 25th of August 2016. As I've already stated, it is a spin-off game of the Sengoku BASARA series of crowdfighter games. It is the first part of what will become the Resident series of spin-off games. And that's more or less all the backstory I found. Oh, and speaking of not finding a story, while the game has one, because of my inability to understand Nippon tongue, I didn't quite understand it. Crazy, right? So, onto speculation of what it could be. Considering the references to what happened in real life, I'm gonna assume that it continues where the first game started, in being based in Japanese history while adding a good number of fantasy elements. If we assume this, and it seems to be the case that it is, then the story is centered around the life of Sanada Yukimura, one of the series' protags and a historical warlord. Then again, I probably could have just said this, considering that the game's name is the Sanada Yukimura Legend. But yeah. Gameplay. Alright, so gameplay. Well, the usual kind of dirtiness that's basically a tradition of crowdfighters is a thing. But, I mean, if you play them long enough, you won't notice it. And it's not infuriating. Until the biggest thing in the game, the fighting. Well, in my opinion, Sengoku BASARA always was a bit of a shonen anime in a video game form. But with the retuning of Masamune's and Yukimura's fighting styles, they more or less meant, yeah, but what if Dragon Ball Z? The amount of ultra vacuuming, bloody spinning moves is off the charts, and Masamune has a bloody Kamehame. And you know what? I bloody love it. It's stupid, sure, but so are crowdfighters. All of this is stupid fun. But yeah, back to something else. Well, let's talk about the cast, shall we? I won't list everyone you can play because, quite frankly, I just don't want to read like 40-something Japanese names out in a monotone voice. But yeah, for newcomers, you have the aforementioned Date Masamune and Sanada Yukimura with their new movesets. Sanada Masayuki, Yukimura's dad, Sanada Nobuyuki, Yukimura's goat older brother, Benmaru, Yukimura as a child, and Bontenmaru, Masamune as a child. There's the people for the story mode, but outside of that, you can also play as people like Katakura Kojiro, Oda Nobunaga, Akechi Mitsuhide, Tokugawa Ieyasu, and Sarutobi Sasuke among others. If you don't like Masamune's and Yukimura's new movesets, you also have the option to use their Sumeragi movesets, though those versions are included as separate characters. In this game, instead of counting the number of kills, you have to beat money out of people, and the money you get is what the game counts. Though, the game still lets you know when you passed bigger numbers of people killed. The money I talked about are namely Monsen coins. This time around, customization is simply that, cosmetics. Everybody who's been imported from Sumeragi gets their DLC costumes and all of their Sumeragi weapons. The newcomers get a couple of weapons and an alternative costume, with more you can buy as DLC, which I couldn't do because I have no means of getting a PSN prepaid card with Yen on it. But then, if the weapons don't make a difference now, then how do you increase your stats in this game? Well, you have what I call playstyle belts. You can buy these and upgrade them with the Monsen coins, and there's a couple of sets of them. These sets are both named and color coded, with different attributes to each one. So for example, there are 3 kinds of power builds, red, green and blue. And while all of them are power builds, they have different additional attributes to them, for something that I will bring up a bit later. Each character also has a personal style and an elemental style. To list what kind of builds you have balanced builds, power builds, toughness builds, technique builds, all of which have green, red and blue versions, a money build that's only blue, the elemental build each character has, and the personal style if you unlocked it. To go into that something I was talking of earlier, The game has something called Bushin Tenjin mode. At least I think that's how I pronounce it. Which does... I don't know what. But the Bushin counter does something else too, as it fuels your style. And as you build the levels, your style's additional attributes open up. There's also a thing called Rainbow Chance, where a dancing man with a rainbow fan, I think, appears in places, and if you hit him, you will trigger bonus objectives you have to do in the area the game gives you in the added time limit. These are things like killing 500 people or doing a 300 hit combo, for example. For clearing these, the game gives you 5,000 additional monster coins. So yeah, I think I went over a good amount of the game's mechanics. So then, what modes do you have to use these mechanics in? Well, of course you have your story, the thing the game was centered around. Then you have the secret backstories of characters, which levels are some additional story while you're either doing one-on-one battles, bullshitting while not dying for a couple of minutes, wishing that Akechi Mitsuhide wouldn't die at the moment Oda Nobunaga looked at him, wishing that Tokugawa Ieyasu wouldn't die when Hideyoshi Toyotomi looked at him, or wishing that the jumping controls weren't as slippery as skating on thin ice with shoes made of banana peels while you failed to do any bloody thing with Choseku Motochika on his bloody platform level that bloody Capcom thought would be a bloody good idea. I didn't find it fun. But man oh man was it a bloody challenge. You also have the Sanada Trials, my favorite mode of the game, which is basically an arena mode where you have to survive 60 levels of increasing difficulty, with additional objectives added to don't die and don't let the time run out. For doing these additional objectives, you get 300 additional monster coins. Once you either finish the trials, die, or let the time run out, the game looks over how you did and the amount of monster coins you've collected, and multiplies it some. Honestly, I can't really explain that part, because for one, it's still in Japanese, and for two, I never really looked at the screen for long enough because I always went back to give it another shot. The mode is challenging and quite fun. It also has a great payoff even without the money bills. Graphics. I like how the game looks. It never tried me realistic, so it can let down on that part. And with the whole anime graphics, I don't think there's a lot of ways people can mess that up in this day and age. Especially with the game focused on the Japanese market. Sounds. As for music, well, the game's opening theme, Committed Red, is awesome. Too bad I can't help you hear it through this video because then it will be taken down, but yeah, I might link to it in the description. As for the other music, I found it to be really good as well. They do their job. The voice acting is also fine, though Bonten Maru sounding like a grown-ass man while being like age 12 or something along those lines was a weird addition. The sound effects were also good. Conclusion. So we're about done with this. But first, let's recap. Sengoku BASARA Sanada Yukimura-Den is a short spin-off game that tells the story of Sengoku-era Japanese warlord Sanada Yukimura, while adding a probably overbearing amount of fantasy elements. It's a crowd fighter with super moves and just normal moves too that will make Dragon Ball as a collective entity have a tear in its eye, and with modes of varying levels of fun. Yeah, that about sums it up I think. So then, what score would I give to it? Well, I believe it deserves 8.5 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this video, and with that, goodbye.